Hi, everybody. Hans Vodder here at New Life Church in Port Townsend, Washington. We're going to do another devotional reading from An Enduring Embrace, the devotional book by Juanita Ryan that we've been working through. The theme for this week is letting ourselves be carried as prayer. The opening verses are from Mark 2, 3 through 4. Some men came, bringing to him a paralytic, carried by 4 of them. Since they could not get him to Jesus because of the crowd, they made an opening in the roof above Jesus and, after digging through it, lowered the mat that the paralyzed man was lying on. Sometimes prayer is letting ourselves be carried by others. Sometimes we cannot pray. We may try to talk with God or to listen to God, but find that we are unable to even begin. We may be too sick physically to pray, or we may be too depressed or overwhelmed to pray, or we may be in too much spiritual distress. There are times when we are the paralytic. We cannot walk, and if Jesus came to a nearby neighborhood, there would be no way that we could get ourselves there to ask him to heal us. We would have to let ourselves be carried to Jesus. Most of us have experienced times when we were unable to pray, times when we are too sick or too exhausted or too discouraged or too overwhelmed. We may go from times of trying to please God by praying good enough and hard enough to times when we find ourselves unable to pray at all. Surprisingly, the times when we are unable to pray can become times of experiencing grace. Periods of not being able to pray put us in the position of the paralyzed man in this story from Mark's Gospel. We need help and healing, but we cannot bring ourselves to Jesus. We need our friends and loved ones to carry us. We need to be carried on the stretcher of the love and prayer of others. Our prayer in such times is to lie on the stretcher and let ourselves rest in the experience of being carried by others. Sometimes, when we find ourselves in the position of the paraplegic, the distress we are already experiencing is compounded by the spiritual shame we feel for not being able to pray. But this spiritual shame is not necessary. We can let it go. When we cannot pray, we can ask for prayer from others and let our prayer be the grace of being carried by others' prayers directly into the loving arms of Jesus. Dear Lord, there are many times when we cannot pray, times when we are too sick or too discouraged. Remind us that there is no shame in this. Help us to remember that this is not a sign of spiritual failure. Please give us the grace in those times to let our prayers be the prayer of the paralytic. Please give us the grace to be carried by other people's loving prayers on our behalf. As a concluding suggestion for further prayer, Ms. Ryan writes, reflect on a time when you were unable to pray. What was your experience at that time? Ask God to show you if there is some way in which you need to allow yourself to be carried by the prayers of others in the present. If so, call, text, or email a few trusted friends and ask them to pray for you. Allow yourself to be carried by their prayers. In conclusion, I would only add that this past week has been a week in which I can identify with the paralytic man. It's been challenging and difficult for me to pray. Sometimes things have seemed a bit discouraging, but I'm very grateful for all the prayers of my church family and of my own biological family. Those prayers have helped carry me this past week, and I'm very grateful for them. So thank you all for listening. I'm glad you could be a part of this, and maybe we'll see you again next time here at New Life Church in Port Townsend, Washington, as we carry on with our devotional readings from the book An Enduring Embrace. So until then, though, thanks and God bless. Bye for now.